Okay, if we could rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as we always do, we remain standing for a moment and think of our men and women in the armed forces. Also, a couple of local folks that we lost, James Willis and Gene DiCarlo, so we remember them. And all day long I thought, what would I say tonight about Las Vegas? And there's actually nothing I can say at all. I happen to know what it's like to lose a family member in a tragedy like that, and you don't recover from it, the ones that are left behind, whether you're family or a close friend. So the only thing I can think of is just, if you feel like it's just a prayer. I have nothing else to say. Thank you. These guys are out showing us a little bit over here, Jimmy. Wait till next meeting. Palm trees on there, Okay, folks. Any public comment on agenda items? Just take a moment, look at the agenda, and okay, mayor's comments. So I want everyone to be aware of some happenings that are coming. A week from today, October the 9th, is the Homecoming Parade on Main Street. Please come out and support O'Neill. It's really, it started a few years ago, and it's like everything, it builds and it builds and it builds, and it's quite a parade. A couple days before that, October the 7th, down in Fort Montgomery, is the Fort Montgomery Battle Site, is going to have their annual yearly days of event. This is their 240th anniversary of the battle. There's cannon firing, there's reenactors, there's children's musket drill, demonstrations, there's lunch. It's quite an affair. So that's Saturday, a couple days before the homecoming, Saturday, October the 7th, all day. Down in Fort Montgomery, so that's another great event to go to. I want to thank, and the board also, we talked about it, we want to thank Ty King and Vanessa Jackson for spearheading the food, not only food, but other items for the victims in Puerto Rico. They did very well. A lot of folks showed up, a lot of help showed up, and it was definitely a worthwhile project, and they filled a truck. So, and I'm sure they're gonna have another truck. My trunk is loaded with things people gave me after that day, so I'm gonna leave it off at the center. And then I think they're collecting more stuff there.
We are.
So, yeah, thank you so much. Starting November 1, downstairs in the lobby will be a calendar. There'll be 2 months, November and December. It'll be for community events. You come in, whether you're the Girl Scouts or you're the 4th of July or you're the Chamber or you're a school, anything. a football game at O'Neill. Come in and write your event on the calendar, and other people will see what's going on. And we hope it helps everyone to know what's going on, because there is so much going on. And again, it'll be, we're gonna wipe it, we'll be able to wipe it off, and it'll be 2 months. So November and December will be there. When November's up, we'll do December and January. So I think it's a good thing to do. But it's only a good thing to do if we use it. For the board, 28 Clytes Avenue is done. The road, Bryan, West Street and Clytes Avenue, and all that's done now. And I think Gary's over there, it's done to Gary's satisfaction, which I like. I've been asked about lawsuits. One of the issues that the ticket ran on was trying to solve some of these lawsuits. And the rest of the board, it doesn't matter if, all 5 of us want to end these lawsuits as best we can to our advantage, meaning the taxpayers' advantage. So the one that was in the paper last week related back to the former administration and in particular the mayor, and I've been asked how much, and I can't say how much was given to the owner of Nicole's. That's part of the agreement, that no one is supposed to make that announcement. But what I can tell you is that between attorney fees and other attorney fees and other attorney fees, you're looking at over $200,000. And that's too bad, because we could have done a lot with $200,000. So that's the shame of that particular lawsuit, but it's over. Lady Cliff, Jim Modlin's here, his wife Cindy, and Stella Bailey, and Angela McCullen, and Mrs. Bess. I don't know Mrs. Bess's name. She lives in Tennessee.
Linda.
She lives in Tennessee, and she's a Lady Cliff alumni. And we met, West Point called us. We met over at the old, I still call it Lady Cliff, and they uncovered 2 stones. One has a plaque, beautiful plaque that was somewhere around the chapel, because it speaks of the chapel. Missionary Sisters, 1903. And so the other one is a large stone that says 1955 on it. As the story gets better, there were 2 time capsules, one in each one. So we're going to be invited up to West Point to view what's in the time capsules, and they have them in an air-controlled room. But that will come back to the village. The stones are going to be back soon with Gary's help. We're going to put them down the garage until next year, and then there's a committee that's going to decide where they're going to go in Lady Cliff Park. And next June, we're going to have an unveiling at the alumni's annual day that they come back for in June. So we're excited. We thank West Point. We're very excited about to see what's in the time capsules. It's just very, very good stuff. So we thank West Point a lot for that. Okay. New business, to approve minutes. You have the minutes before you. We had a regular meeting on the 18th of September, and we had a meeting on the 25th of September. I have read them today and find no fault, but gander at them there quickly.
Motion to accept minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Standard workday resolution. Again, this is for elected officials. You have that. This is something the state requires. I'm sorry, Gina, the resolution? Just show me what it looks like.
It's in the kind of
Oh,
written at
it's
the top
that?
there that,
Oh, it's that up there. Oh, boy. So be it resolved that the Village of Highland Falls 40062, that's not our zip code, so don't go changing your zip codes, hereby establishes the following standard work week for these titles and will report the and will report the officials to the New York State and local retirement system based on their record of activity. The elected official is trustee James Ramus. He has a minimum of 6 hours, and you see the dates there that he started.
Yeah, it's 6 hours in what time frame? Just between the 3rd and the 5th?
No.
It's a very bizarre.
No, it's just to report the standard workday for the trustees, because they're considered part-time, is a 6-hour day. Anyone who's joining the retirement system has to do a log, a 3-month log, of which he turned into me, his activities. And there's a formula that has to be calculated to come up with how many days per month that we report to the New York State retirement system based on that. And that's what this resolution that we have to then send to the state will have on record for him when they get our monthly retirement report. So it's limited information that is put on here. More goes to the state as far as the registration number and social and that. It's just saying when his term begins and ends, and the record of his activities was showing like 7 hours a month. Okay, so,
Yeah,
and
it
it's not,
was-
he has submitted his activity log, so he's good for that. If he hadn't, we still would have to do this, and we tell the state that they haven't turned in a log, and then the state deals with those elected officials themselves. But in this case, he's complied with everything. This is the formality to send to the state, the resolution that the board has set this for that particular position.
If I may say something, I had this when I was with the town, and we said 7 hours a month. That is by no means what he's doing a month. Just so everybody, I just want to clear the air on that. There's many, many, many more hours monthly that you do up at this board than that. I just had to mention that.
Right, it's a formula based on
Right.
the hours for the month and how many payrolls and how many months in a year, how many payrolls in a year, all of that to come out to what's reported.
That's just.
If someone feels that their activities increases, they can always send that in to have an update on that number.
Okay, so let me finish reading the resolution. I, Regina M. Taylor, Secretary/Clerk of the Governing Board of the Village of Highland Falls of the State of New York, do hereby certify that I have compared the foregoing with the original resolution passed by such board at a legality convened meeting held on the second day of October 2017 on file as part of the minutes of such meeting. And that same is true, and that same is a true copy thereof and the whole of such original. It is witness whereof I have hereto unset my hand to seal the Village of Highland Falls. If we pass this resolution, the date will go in there. You signed this, correct, Gina?
Yes.
Okay, so let's have a motion to authorize the village clerk to sign the standard work reporting resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by trustee Livesey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Howard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion carried. We have a letter from Nugent Hauser, an engagement letter to do an audit, their annual audit on our books. They expect to begin the audit at approximately November the 13th, about 5 weeks from now. Our fee for these services will be at our standard hourly rate plus out-of-pocket costs. And it will not exceed $22,500. That's a yearly thing that we've been doing for many, many years. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Murphy, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Livesey, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I don't think I need to do a roll call. Okay, a firehouse, truck lease. Thank you, Charlie, for spearheading this. It's a 2-year contract. We're in the first year right now, our 16-17 budget and, our 17-18 budget. And then next year will be the second and final year, 18-19. So sometime in the year 2019, early on, during our budget process, we'll negotiate another lease. And the lease is for $25,340. It'll end next May 31, 2018. And then for the second year, it goes up 1%, $25,590. And that will expire May 31, 2019. Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by trustee Ramus, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Howard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the charging station. We have a couple of things we should take care of tonight on that. One is a letter, which you have before you, that I would sign if you authorize me. It's a community letter of support for the electrical charging station. And the second part of this is the electric vehicle charging station host site agreement. Get it. So we can take these individually, we can take them together. I know that trustee Ramus has been doing work on this, and a lot of emails going back and forth, and I think Elise studied you studied the host agreement?
I did, I made some comments
Yeah.
that I copied to the board to trustee Ramos.
And so this does not finalize anything, because we're talking about maybe charging and, you know.
Well, this is the agreement. What I had suggested is that you'll want to make some modifications to your local laws so
Right.
that you can.
Length of time you can park
include these,
there.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's a policy decision. If I'm authorized tonight, I can draft a local law for the board to look at. The board may want to consider how they're going to charge. Because there are multiple ways to do it.
Yeah,
You know, you can charge just for the electricity, you can charge a surcharge, you can charge an hourly rate. So it's really up to the board, and there were some great suggestions in the materials that were sent.
right. Yeah, we have to discuss that and decide if we want to charge and how much.
Yeah,
But you're saying this is the agreement already now?
this is the agreement, and the only comment I had to trustee Ramos was that you will be assessed a transaction fee from ChargePoint. So it's good to know, you're definitely going to want to charge to recover that, plus the cost of the electricity. And like any other metered parking spot, you may want to charge,
Shouldn't that be in here?
no, it isn't in here.
But shouldn't it be in here? Because if this is the agreement and this is what we're going to,
Yeah, this just says that,
I'd feel more comfortable with.
I don't know, did you find out what they charge in terms of their,
We probably don't want to charge over $2.50, because then we're competing with gasoline. So I'd rather discuss it with the board
okay,
and show them the information that I have, so we can collectively come up with a rate. I mean, we don't want to scare people away either, but there's a lot to think about. We're gonna need to put up signs,
That's right.
et cetera, et cetera. And with that being said, we have to see where we have that money allocated in our budget, or where we can take it from. So I think we need all of that information first. So I would like to table this until we can come up with
I would agree with that, Jim.
an actual number.
Yeah.
And I think we should have that number by the next meeting.
I
I'm
agree.
hoping.
I agree.
And if we gave you the, I'm sorry.
you mean the number that the board has decided to charge?
Right, because that's what trustee Livesey would like to see that.
Because if this is
in
the
document.
agreement, I'd like to see something stating what the board is gonna require
Okay.
for this, rather than make an agreement on this.
Well, the amount of money that the board is going to charge is a policy decision. In other words, you can do that by resolution based on your local code. So right now, you charge X amount for regular parking on the street. That isn't something that's in your code. This doesn't necessarily have to be in your code. What you can say is, we will charge, and that charge will be determined by the village board by resolution, to be modified from time to time in the same manner. So I think the issue really is what kind of per transaction fee the village will be charged by ChargePoint just for processing the ChargePoint. And whether that, you know, and if it's, I'm sure it's a nominal fee, but I think we wanted to reach out to ChargePoint to really find out exactly what that, how much that is. Because that should be figured into whatever charge the village comes up with. So if there's a transaction fee of .02,
Say 10%, whatever.
whatever it is.
10% on the dollar, so 10 cents, whatever.
Yeah, 10 cents, you'll just wanna make sure that you consider that.
Correct.
I still think we'll wait.
I will forward you the information that ChargePoint and Energetics sent to me. So you guys can take a look at that also.
Okay.
I don't wanna throw it to you right here tonight to digest it, it's a pretty thick package.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in what you sent me that actually identifies that rate, so you may have it in more materials.
Okay.
Okay.
The only thing I'll say is we need to move on this because there's, I'm getting emails, we need to move on this in the proper way, of course, and that's what we are doing. Let's decide,
The NYSERDA.
yeah, we need to do this, and winter's coming, whatever that means, and so let's somehow, even if we have to have another meeting to discuss this, so we're ready for the next meeting.
Like, what location are you looking at?
It's right up here, Merv, I'll show you, this is the best way for me to show you. Across from Sacred Heart,
Yeah,
in the parking lot,
right.
at the
Oh,
north
right.
end,
Yeah, okay.
at the north end.
Mhm.
That's where Gary and I and someone from the company see it. Now, this shows it halfway down, but see this line? This is supposed to be up there. There's the tank.
That's where the guy sells the corn on the cob at the food.
There's a hot dog guy there now.
Okay.
But, guys, ladies, we have to decide this, okay?
Well, I have the pricing review guide right here, just so you know. Did you get this one also?
Yes, but I'm not seeing, it offers suggestions, but I'm not seeing the actual ChargePoint transaction fee in that.
When I spoke with the representative on the phone, that's where I got that. It was per
I don't
a
know.
percentage.
But it's coming.
It's a percentage.
It's a percentage of what you collect, is that it, or a percentage of?
That's what she informed me on.
But we don't know what percentage yet.
I'll remind you all
I'm not going to
Okay.
state for the record exactly. I think,
Okay, but we do know.
I don't have those notes right here.
Okay,
I have them written down.
so if the board authorizes me, I'll go ahead and draft the local law so that you can get it all done as quickly as possible.
That makes the most sense.
To modify your, your vehicles and traffic law, to identify charging stations as a meter, so that you can put the policy together, because you will have to have a public hearing, you'll wanna review the local law, you'll wanna have a public hearing. And during that time, you can set up the fees that you wanna structure, which would be in a resolution after you adopt the local law. But the modifications to the vehicle and traffic law is not, it's not a lot. It's just tweaking it.
Right?
Yeah,
Well, and I want, yeah, okay. Are you okay?
I was gonna say, I mean, we need to know how fast these vehicles are gonna charge. We need to figure out how many vehicles could possibly charge there if they were back-to-back getting in there, and if they're fast charge, if this is a fast charge system, where some of the new vehicles out there, they can charge a lot faster than the old vehicles, correct?
The old, when I had my Volt at a charging station, I could charge in 4 hours. Maybe, depending on how much charge I had left, no more than 4. But that was a while ago, so now this may be a much faster charging station, I don't know. I used to charge at charge points though.
I'm just curious, was there I'm a little old fashioned, was there a survey done on how many electric cars that are,
No.
no? Well, I'm just
This
wondering.
is a leftover. This is a leftover.
Okay,
No,
this
I mean,
was
I'm
brought
just
up
wondering,
last
last
year,
year, I think, right?
a survey
Yeah.
done that there's so many electric cars that come through the area, so.
We're hoping
Well,
to attract
More.
more. That's what we're hoping.
Okay.
you know.
Just-
And it's a destination point, because up at Cosmos, you know, when it first went in up there, they were pretty empty.
mhm.
And now when you go up there on the weekends, they're full. Everybody's looking for a
Okay.
stop there. I also noticed the one out in Warwick. It was kind of empty for a while,
Yeah,
and now it gets utilized a lot more. So it brings somebody in to the village to charge their vehicle and spend money.
And there, I noticed on Saturday, more and more electric vehicles going into the football games, so they're coming.
the only other thing I would mention is I think that this also, it's like one of those, it puts you on a list of municipalities that are adopting these kinds of,
Yes,
right,
Yes.
so that you can go after
Yes.
even more.
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Right,
exactly. And there is more to go get.
absolutely. A
So
lot more,
that's
so-
that's the charge, no pun intended, that's the charge for us,
Yeah,
is that we can get more.
that's right.
So, that's a good point.
So I'll draft that local law for the next meeting.
So we're tabling this?
We're going to table it. All right, next on the agenda is the resolution for lease of police vehicles. Village of Highland Falls Board of Trustees resolution authorizing appropriations for the lease of police vehicles and the authority for the mayor to execute said lease agreement. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Highland Falls has determined that it is in the public interest to lease 2 additional vehicles for use by the Village of Highland Falls Police Department. And whereas the board has a financing proposal dated September the 26th, 2017 from Ford Motor Credit Company for a lease of a 2017 Ford Police Interceptor sedan vehicle in the amount of $34,939 and 1 2017 Ford Interceptor utility vehicle in the amount of $37,247.40, plus a $540 underwriting fee for a total of $72,731.40, attached hereto and made a part of the resolution. And whereas the amount herein constitutes the cost of leasing that said vehicles for a period of 3 years, it is hereby resolved that the Village of Highland Falls appropriates funds in the amount of $72,731.40 to be paid to the Ford Motor Credit Company over a period of 3 years for a lease of 1 2017 Ford Police Interceptor sedan and 1 2017 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle. Be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to sign for the Ford Motor Credit Company lease attached hereto and made a part of this resolution.
Is this to replace a couple cars?
Is the chief over there?
Yep.
Which cars are they?
The 2 Durangos, they're 2008s,
We're gonna still keep one in service for the moment though, right?
3-4, yes,
Okay.
just for the time being.
And then at the end of 3 years,
We
we
buy
get
them
to
for
buy
$1.
them for $1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, this was all part of our plan, I think, that we even talked about during budget, if I'm right, but I might not be. So, is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, the village needs police cars.
Motion by trustee Livesey, is there a second? By
Second.
trustee Murphy. May I have roll call?
Joe, just, that was trustee Howard,
Howard.
motion.
We look a lot alike.
Look at their
Except
ties.
for the hair.
Trustee Howard,
One John, one's on.
trustee Livesey,
Aye.
trustee Ramus,
Aye.
trustee Murphy,
Aye.
Mayor Denofrio.
Aye. Motion carried, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just have the, I have to sign this as well. So here's the items.
Is this what I sign, or is it?
Gino,
I give it to you.
I signed it,
Okay.
okay.
I do, okay. Thank you. We have a resignation of our part-time dispatcher Christina Ingles, effective September the 28th, 2017. If we could accept that with regret.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by trustee Livesey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Mr. DeSalvo, could you help me? Sure. Just pull a tack out of something else. This is the better one. Hold that. Sean, can you get over here? Can you see this? Okay. So we had bid openings, last week, last Friday afternoon. No, I'm just looking for another one, Brian, I'm sorry. So, as promised by this board, we said that we would take care of certain streets. And it's something that you have to do maybe every year even. And so if we start, this is Mountain Avenue, so I don't mean to have my back, but you guys probably kind of know. So we're gonna do Jevons from Mountain Avenue up. These are all tough streets. These are gonna be tough streets to do, but Gary, you wanna add anything here as I'm talking?
I'm
So,
listening.
okay, Jevons Road, and then one street down, Locust, another hill, which leads up to Chestnut. And when you get to the top of Chestnut, which is a dead end, to the left, we're going to do that section. In other words, this is Chestnut over here too. But the only part that needs it is here. So we have Jevons, we have Locust, we have Chestnut, we have Edward Street, again, another tough street. These are all streets off Mountain Avenue, hills. So Edward Street, and then this, compared to these, this street compared to these, or these aren't hills compared to this one, hillside. Where hillside is, okay? Tough road. And then right up around the corner here, on the left, when you start up Schneider Avenue, is McCollum's Lane. I feel so bad for those people that I just will be so pleased when this road is done. It's desperate. Every one of these streets actually should have been done a while ago. Fine, they're gonna be done now. The last one is, we have to talk about it, is Mearns Avenue. Now, I don't think we have to talk about, do we wanna do it or not, because we all know how bad it is.
The lower end is horrible.
The
All the way-
south end,
Yes,
yeah, it's horrible, it's
right.
worse than that even. So, we need to talk about that, okay? Now, as far as the money, the bids came in, and, the low bidder was, Ward Paving. Now, we've had Ward here before, they've done many of our streets, they're very, very good, correct, Gary?
Yes.
And the bid for all those streets came in at $304,619. Now, we have quite a bit of that. We have a lot of that in CHIPS money that we've been saving over the years that is for paving, the state gives us every year. And so that's in the bank, and all of that will be spent on these roads. Now, the 304,000 includes items that the board will talk that we might not want to do or need to do. So there's some things in here that might not need to be done, which will bring the $304,000 down. And that'll be a board's decision with Gary. I think that was all I wanted to say about that. Anyone have any questions at this point?
So is MERNS included on that?
MERNS is not included in that.
Thank you.
But I want the folks on Mearns Avenue, and as Mr. Livesey said, in particular the south end, and I saw Mr. Howard shaking his head, we're all shaking our head, because all you have to do is go up there. It's not a question, does it have to be paved? It's not even a question. It has to be paved, and so we'll do it, yes.
This fall?
Joe, just for Mary Jane, for everybody, Mearns Avenue is included in the bid as an alternate.
As an
So
alternate.
Depending on how funding goes, we already have a price to do it.
Yeah, we have a price, that's right. We have a price to do it. We have a price to do it. Yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't say that correctly. It's not, though, part of the 30, Mary Jane, it's not part of the 304.
Okay.
That's the difference.
So
Okay.
maybe we can find a way to wiggle it in,
Yeah, yeah,
That whole amount?
which would be good, at least the one farthest end of that.
correct,
They're not approving
correct, yes, yes,
They're just approving
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
are you planning to award the bid tonight?
We'd like to award the bid tonight. So, if we could award it, right, Gina, we're fine.
Well, you didn't get your information from your engineer yet about reviewing all the paperwork.
Yeah, the engineer was here when we opened up the bids.
They normally give you a
Yeah,
recommendation.
or you know what, they're gonna, I know they're gonna recommend we do it with what was bid. They were happy with it too, but you know what, we'll wait, and if we have to have a special meeting,
You are meeting on an executive session
yeah,
Thursday.
Thursday night, we could take care of it then if
Possible.
we hear back from the engineer. The issue here is timing, it's October.
So let's plan on that
You know,
Thursday night.
Yeah, okay? Thank you, guys, ladies. We have bills and claims for fiscal year 17-18 of $147, $951.41.
Motion to pay the bills.
Motion by trustee Murphy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by trustee Livesey, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Is the chief over there?
Yes.
Chief, can you come here for a second and just quickly tell the folks about how they can get on the e-alert? And where they'll get notices, snow notices, emergency notices, brown water notices, flushing hydrant notices, all this stuff.
Right. So I see that the village webpage is updated now. So if you go down to the bottom of the main page, you'll see how to sign up for the e-alert system. And once you sign up, there's priority 1 and priority 2. Priority 1 will cover all your emergencies. The priority 2s will cover parking issues such as you need to get your cars off the street during snow removal, brown water, and anything like that. So just go to the main Highland Falls ny.org website, and at the bottom you'll see how to sign up. It's step by step, and it's a good thing. You can get it sent to your cell phone, your emails, or both.
Thank you. Thank you. Do bills and claims, right? Okay. I want to keep the meeting moving. Some of us have another appointment. I'm going to drag this out. I'm going to drag this out for a purpose. I want the folks at home to see it, so I don't know how I can do that, but There it is.
Two, you automatically get one.
So what is this about?
You sign up for one.
My first meeting up here, I don't know what my words were now. It was only 5 or 6 months ago. I don't remember everything like I used to. I said that I would work, this board would work. I spoke about myself probably more than anything, that would work with anyone, that we would build any bridge back. If it had to be built from scratch, that's what I would do. And I've meant that. I've been doing that for the last 5 whatever months. Okay? We have a lot of talent in this community. Whether someone in that group doesn't like me or loves me, it doesn't matter. And I keep saying this, and I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to keep saying it until, I know you're going to get tired of it, but it's the way it's going to be. You know, we're human beings. I guess we don't love everyone, but we got to try a little harder. There's no one that likes me or doesn't like me that doesn't want the same thing that I want, or you want. We all want the same thing. We want a better community. I don't have the blueprint. I don't have the total blueprint. But together we have the blueprint. Together we do. Look what the beautification committee did. There's no one that doesn't like that, even if they don't like the person. They love what was done. And that's what we have to keep doing. Again, there's a lot of talent out there. You know, we need to use it. We all want basically the same thing. Okay, whether you're the garden club, whether you're the fire department, whether you're the chamber, whether you're Vision, whether you're all these other organizations, it doesn't matter. We need to work together. And all I can do is ask and beg and beg. I'm a beggar. I don't care. If you want the community to be what you want it to be, then come on. Come. Let's go together. Not follow me. Don't follow me. I might get lost. But let's do it together. So that's my spiel. I'd love not to ever have to do it again. We'll see. Anyone want to meet with me? Meet with me. Call me up. I'll go. You can come here. I'll go there. You want to talk? Let's talk. Maybe we would both be happily surprised. Okay. I know my board gets aggravated with me. I go off on these tangents, but that's okay. I appreciate your patience, and so let's do board comment. Mr. Howard?
Yeah, consolidation, could you talk about the selection and how we're gonna get a group of people to?
Yes. Been very busy. We all have been. A lot of work, but still a lot more has to be done, and we have to juggle every ball. We can't just leave one sitting over there until we have time. So soon, I will meet with the board. We'll talk, whether it's individually or how we can get together, maybe some recommendations on a committee. And I don't want to say we'll resurrect it again, because I don't think it's down that far that we have to resurrect. But we'll call, what was the fellow's name? Justin?
Tim.
Was it? Tim. I remember, Tim. So I will get it back on the burner, Mr. Howard. Thank you. Mr. Liz.
There's been a lot of talk about Main Street, and Jim, you've been doing a lot of work to try to get Main Street going here. So, the past couple weeks, I did a little survey of myself, just to really check out and see what we have here on Main Street. And what I came back with is 8 buildings that I've noticed, 8 buildings along this Main Street that are in real bad shape. That goes to the owner of the buildings. Those 8 buildings are closed. The storefronts are closed down on them. But also what I notice is a lot of the businesses that are along Main Street here, these people are trying, from what it looks in my eye, that they're trying their best to get customers into the door. So where do we go on this here? We talk about the customers that are trying their best and they're paying rent to have these stores. And then we have these storefronts that are just in horrible shape, and they are, because I walked up to them and looked around them. So where does this board move forward in saying, hey, we're not gonna accept that, and the village here?
So let me give you,
Go ahead, yep.
let me give you one answer.
Okay,
So from the last meeting, 2 weeks ago, tonight, the following day, I went down to the building department. I saw Bruce, and I gave him a list, of 6 Main Street properties that it's very easy to tell there's some violations there. He and I spoke at length. I'll use the word that was in the News of the Highlands, aggressive. The board is going to be, I hope, I think the board will be too, aggressive. I know that the property owners of these 6 did receive violations. I had a visitor today of one of the stores, and she had an envelope full of violations, not just one, more than 2, more than 3, which were correct. The violations that were noted were correct. These 6, depending on the violations that they did receive, are going to have to now, within a time frame. Those violations that they get are just like the property maintenance ones that we have up here all the time with cutting grass and everything. So they're in the paperwork, they're given so long to fix it, and if it's not fixed, they'll end up here like the property maintenance will. But I know, and I'm sure he wants to speak tonight. Jim Modlin and I know he did, and I went back down, and I know that you did too, Jim. And Bruce is willing to work with us, and he's going to have to work with us. We need Main Street cleaned up yesterday. So.
but one thing that, like I've also found out in the past couple of weeks on this, is that some of these buildings that are along there, the ones that we're talking about, the 6 to 8, the buildings that we're talking about, I spoke to a couple of the tenants and their rents had all gone up. So that really, I really don't understand that, where they're raising your rent now and the buildings are in that kind of condition that they're in. I guess through the attorney now, because that's your job, we'll find out how far being aggressive we can get on this. Because sometimes I'm starting to think to myself that we're giving out property violations, but can we go further on these property violations where somebody will say, my God, you better make sure your building is up to, and we're not trying to stricten it too much, but we want to make the percentage, much better in this community here. And lastly, one thing that just baffles me a little bit is I'm every day up at Roe Park. I'm up there every day. And it's such a beautiful park up there. I've noticed so many times going up to this park, it's just me, my dog, and maybe one other person walking around it. This is sometimes on Saturdays. I don't know where all the kids are, and sometimes I say to myself, just for curiosity, maybe they're at the middle school, because that's the place to go. And they're not there.
Here they are.
And I'm starting to believe that it's just a change of times where the old building a fort up in the woods is way past, and maybe possibly that is. But the reason I'm saying this is that I know Aaron Falk puts out many, many recreational programs, and there's many recreational programs that are out there. And the reason I'm saying this, folks, is because somebody came up to me and said, there's nothing for the children to do here in Highland Falls, Town of Highlands, Fort Montgomery. And I'm sorry, I'll say this on camera, I have to argue with that. So a little vent for me.
No, I understand.
Sorry.
I understand. I do understand. Mr. Ramus?
Yeah, I got, just one quick thing. I stopped out at O&R, and the last meeting, Brian, remember I
Yep.
told you about some coloring
Yep.
books? That had to do with gas,
Yep.
the natural gas. Well, I got 30 more, or 40 more, that have to do with electricity.
Okay, great.
And we got lots of crayons for the kids.
That's great,
So-
there you go, there's some big kids.
If you could drop these off
Yeah.
tomorrow,
I'll take them at the center.
it'd be
Yeah.
greatly appreciated.
Thank you, I appreciate what you did for the
No
center.
problem.
Good job, Jim.
I'm just glad you said they were for the kids and not us.
Well, you can have them. I like the color,
Charlie?
as long as I get paid.
Just two quick things, although I've got to comment. I think the building department is feeling the pressure because there is a steady flow of people from this board contacting them. So at any rate, Cindy Maudlin is in the audience. Cindy and I attended a 3-hour workshop to apply for a New York State Council of the Arts grant for the Art Walk for next year, which we're happy to do. However, it turns out that if we apply for that, the village would not be eligible for an economic development grant, which could be much, much larger than 4,000 or 5,000. So I won't commit that we're going to go for the NISCA grant because we can't jeopardize economic development at a much larger figure. The other thing that is important, we've been talking about trees and dead trees and replacing trees. The mayor and, is Gary still here? They have been discussing the removal of the dead trees and the pruning back on Main Street. We have limited resources and funds, so hopefully the village will be able to remove the trees, grind down the stumps. And Rotary, this is the year of the tree for Rotary International. So we have increased our dollar commitment for beautification, and hopefully we will have enough money to buy a couple trees, depending on the size. So I hope you'll keep us in the loop as far as what tree is specified, and we'll discuss that with Rotary.
Absolutely.
The treasurer of Rotary is in the audience, and
Absolutely.
so far, so good. We've got some money in that budget.
And the dead trees and the pruning will be done, I think, if not just started, it'll either be done or started by the end of the month and into early November, but it'll be done. Because the next thing is Christmas is coming and we need to get lights up, and that's another event that'll come before the board to support soon. Okay, thank you, everyone. I would just want to announce that our county legislator is in the audience. Anything, Jim? Not that you have to, but anything? Thank you for coming. So public comment, please try to honor the 3-minute rule. Please. I'm talking to everyone, not someone, Jim. Go ahead, Mary Ellen.
You have to go to the front, right?
Well, right over here, right over here.
Just have like 4 little comments, not a lot.
How many?
4,
4?
but they're very brief.
Okay, that's okay.
And I'm glad that Brian mentioned about consolidation, because I think the people in this community are still reeling from the school bills. And I know with mine, my other 2 bills basically are the same as my school bills, and they're getting out of hand. People can't afford to live in this community any longer. So definitely consolidation has to be a push, for sure.
If it's the right thing for the taxpayer, yeah.
Yes, and I understand there possibly could be some debt that Highland Falls has, that Fort Montgomery doesn't. And if that's the issue, then you need to just figure out a way to prorate it somewhere along the way. Number 2, you need microphones, because when you're home, you cannot hear what Elise is saying, you cannot hear the speakers at all.
We're in the process of investigating through the purchasing agent, microphones for up here.
Okay, well, as long as somebody else, because the voices don't carry on the TV. Another issue, there are people that would come to the meetings, but this building is not handicapped accessible. So why is it can't be moved to where there's an elevator? That building belongs to us too, does it not? The town hall, don't they have an elevator there? That's a thought, because I think more people would show up. And I was glad that Jim mentioned, talked about the changing station and being competitive with the price of gas at $2.50. Again, we have an issue with the cost of gas here, and James Scofus has gone to bat for us again. But we have an Orange County legislator, we have our board. I've gone into that gas station, I'm one of those people that puts $5 in my car, if I haven't felt like going other places, to go over a mountain. And if we want to shop locally, somebody needs to talk to them. They'd have more business than they need, probably, if they would lower their prices to be competitive with either Stony Point or Cornwall. And the perception is, for the tourists and everybody coming in here, that we are ripping off our visitors. And that's a horrendous perception for people to have of us. So if you guys can go talk to them, Orange County people can talk to them, it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, first of all, Mary Ellen, it isn't just Mr. Scufus. I don't think there's anyone up here that hasn't gone and talked to them in written letters and called Senator Larkin and called other people in Albany. And I know that our county legislator has,
Yeah.
so let's make sure.
I'm glad to hear that. We should
Yeah.
put that in the paper then, so
Well,
people
we
know.
don't put everything in the paper that we do
Well, it
because,
would be good, because honestly, it needs to change. It's a bad perception of coming into the area.
Miss Olivia, just one thing. The other day, I was in Warwick and I purchased gas out there, and it was more expensive than the gas station here in the village. Just so.
Oh, you can find that too, but I'm not saying, I went in there once and I said to the man, yeah, I put my $5 in, and I said, I can go to Stony Point where they pump my gas, and it's cheaper. And the man that was working at the gas station in Highland Falls said to me, I don't buy my gas here either. And he's an employee.
Is that the gas station right at the bottom of the mountain?
The one, it used to
In
be
Stony
Larkins.
Point?
Yeah, Larkins.
I think that's the
Watch
only
your
one that
window.
pumps gas in New York
I don't know if they
nowadays.
still do, it's changed owners, I think. But anyway, so those were my 4 brief, hopefully under 3 minutes, comments.
ding. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Okay, Jim?
You didn't even include the time it takes me to get up here in the 3 minutes. So I will cede back some time and be less than 3 minutes this time. I just want to say that appreciate the aggressiveness that you are taking as far as Main Street is concerned. Echo what you said, Joe, in terms of speaking with the building department. They are very much wanting to work with us. I think that message was delivered to all of you. That's very good. Just one other thing that he said to me, and Joe, I know I've told you, but just for the sake of the board, that the top priority that he's going to be looking at as he's doing the inspections are health and safety types of violations. And so we actually got into a situation, especially with the vacant storefronts that may have apartments above them. They're, a concern what's going on inside those vacant buildings, especially when you have people living above them. And so that's another key thing that he's gonna be looking at and possibly wanting to work with you all on, or work with building owners, or whatever the case is.
Now-
Health and safety types of things too,
Okay.
besides just the beautification.
Besides the appearance of the outside?
appearance,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yes.
okay, good,
Yeah,
good,
So,
good,
that's critical.
good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
So,
oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
that was what, less than a minute?
Did good tonight.
All right, thank you.
Last meeting, you did very bad. Very. Okay, and is there anyone else before, we have to go into executive session to discuss specific individuals in a personnel matter. We're gonna do that up here, so is there anything else from anyone? Gary, are you over there?
Yes.
Okay, Gary, I wanna thank you. I always thought I was the only one in the village that saw this for the last 4 years. The clock was 13 minutes slow for 4 years, and it bothered me, and it bothered me, and it bothered me. I look at that clock as one of my little babies that I was able to do when I was here before. And today you fixed it, and it has the right time. Thank you, Gary. You don't want to be known as slow, you know what I mean?
Jim has it.
Jim?
I wasn't gonna say anything, but this is just a citizen, Jim. Just real quick on the comments about the building department. So I think it's great that the village board and the chamber and whoever else went down and spoke with the consolidated code enforcement building department for the town of Highlands. But it troubles me a little bit that you all have to go down there and do that. The biggest issue for the village, and it's been this issue since I was on the board and previous board members and trustees, and is code enforcement. We don't have a lot of building going on in the village, and code enforcement's a huge aspect of making sure Main Street looks good. So I think those issues of health and safety inside the buildings are valid and important. I think a lot of that gets taken care of with the fire. They have some kind of fire application that you have to get monitored for not single-family homes, but two-family and more. I think that's valid and good. But at the same time, that list of 6 that you gave, or 8, and you, Ms. Mullen went down and spoke to them. I mean, those are valid things that have to be addressed. And if the town needs to hire more folks in order to achieve that, then maybe that's what they have to look at. But it is a consolidated town function, and sometimes we've even battled. I remember when I was on the village board, we had a part-time code enforcement officer. And, you know, the village taxpayers were paying for another person to go around and nitpick, and that's what you have to do in order to have a nice down Main Street on a lot of these, on code enforcement issues. So I think it's good that you guys are running down there. You're being an elected official, you're representing us, other civic organizations, but at the same time, they really do have an obligation to fulfill the contract of a consolidated building and code enforcement.
Jim, recently the town did hire an assistant code enforcement person.
So that's perfect, so that goes right to what I'm saying, so now, and that person's job can just be fulfilled in the village of Island Falls. I mean, you can just go around, all, you know, if they're 20 hours a week, I'm sure they'll fill that up.
I agree with that. I think that we almost should have our own, through the town building department, a code enforcement officer. We're old. The village of Highland Falls is old. What does that mean? It means we're old. Our stock is old. Our buildings are old. Listen, we're beating a little bit of a dead horse, but if you're gonna plant flowers, and I'm gonna put new sidewalks in, and I'm gonna put trees in the sidewalk, which we are going to do all of that, that'll get somebody to that nice sidewalk looking at flowers.
Yeah.
Now you have a building.
Right.
Okay, and we can't do physically the building,
Right.
but our job is to make sure that the building department does the building.
And just.
And we are going to go down there, Jim, I don't wanna overdo our welcome. I'd like to say once every 2 weeks, but I think we have to, all right? Yeah, okay, I really think that we have to, so I would like to do that.
And just really, really quick on the gas station, which I totally 100% agree with Ms. Olivia. The guy is what he is, and he charges what he charges. I did call the county's weights and measures to talk about price gouging. It really isn't price gouging. If the guy wants to charge $5 a gallon, he could technically charge $5 a gallon, as long as it's not during a storm or hurricane or a natural disaster. But I don't know.
He don't care.
He does not care. He owns 100 plus of those stations. And I agree with you. I put a few dollars in and I go find cheaper gas. So it's sad. But I'd love to, if maybe we can all go and sit down with him and maybe just say, look, we'd love to be at the board meeting saying buy from this guy. Because he's in town and, so, thank you.
You know, I agree with everybody about this building inspector. I like to talk to some of the landlords too. You're charging some rents here that people have told me are pretty high. Then you need to reinvest into this village. You know, it's not just the building code. These landlords,
Exactly, yep.
I mean, this place could be beautiful. I remember, we talked about in Jersey, no comments about Jersey. When they started revamping their place, landlords were called on the block. Start cleaning up your place, make it look presentable. The more you're gonna put in, the more money you're gonna get out, because people are gonna stop by and say, this is a nice little place. I think the landlords need to take a step too.
See, most of us know too that the landlords aren't local. Right?
Mail your money in, it's fine, send a check, makes no difference to me.
Well, I'm gonna leave, we're gonna go into executive session, but I'll leave with this, with everything that was just said about buildings on Main Street. I'll step out. You're gonna see an improvement on Main Street with the buildings. There's no choice. If your building is deteriorated, if your building needs to be painted, not because Joe D'Onofrio says it needs to be painted, the code enforcement officer says it needs to be painted. I mean, I can look at something and say, nah, it really needs to be painted, but it's not up to me. I'm telling you, Main Street is gonna look better.
Joe, I think it's the community that's saying that to the landlords. You know, please work with us.
It's not something that we're up here last meeting and this, I'm telling you, it's not something that we're up here last meeting, this meeting. You'll see. You will see that with me. It's not the way it's gonna be. Thank you. We're gonna go into executive session. Can I have a motion?
Take a motion.
Second.
Aye.
The two men to my right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.